Cade Cunningham was selected as the 10th player on Bleacher Report's top 10 players in the next 5 years. This was not the article written by Andy Bailey. Andy Bailey wrote another one, which we'll talk about. I love Andy Bailey's content on Twitter, by the way. But let's talk about this. Cade Cunningham, let me ask you first. Do you think he will be a top 10 NBA player in the next 5 years?
I think if he stays healthy, he has all the tools to be a top 10 player. I think even before the Pistons won the lottery, that was the kind of the consensus talk that Cade on the cusp could be a top 25 player in the NBA. And if he reaches his ceiling and he reaches his potential, he's a top 10 player. He has the frame. He can play both ways, offensive and defensively. I think the 3-point shot is something that, like, if he develops it and he's like a 35, 36% 3-point shooter, then yes, 100%, he could become a top 10 player in the NBA. But I do want to give context to people that aren't watching live. Maybe they're going to be listening to this on the podcast. I wanted to read the top 10 players at Bleacher Report's, what they think or who they think are going to be top 10 players in the NBA, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. I was actually going to ask you because as you were talking, I was looking up the list and I couldn't pull it up fast enough. So yeah, read those off to me, man.
So it's going to be Luka Doncic number 1, which I think we can both agree. Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the NBA right now.
100%.
Not surprising that he's number 1. Number 2, Nikola Jokic. I honestly think you could kind of, reverse those two. I think you could put Nikola Jokic 1 or Luka 2. I don't have a problem with that. And just won an NBA championship with the Denver Nuggets. In my opinion, the best center in basketball right now. No slight at Joel Embiid. I just think Jokic is better. Number 3 is Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics. This is where I'm kind of like, I like Tatum, but I would possibly have Giannis 3. That's just me.
Oof.
I still think Giannis, to me, he's gonna be great in the next 5 years. But they had Tatum 3 on their list. Giannis was 4, which I think we can both agree one of the best forwards in basketball. He's like literally impossible to stop. It's like having a jacked up, juiced on steroids wide receiver just come at you. Like, you're not stopping that. I'm sorry, you're just not.
It's like if you gave Shaq the dribble ability to go downhill on 10 to 15 times a game. It's just unreal. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just unreal.
Yeah. Number 5, I think there's a lot of talk on social media that he's rated this high, and that is Victor Wembanyama.
Ooh.
So Bleacher Report believes that Victor Wembanyama will be a top 5 player in the next 5 years in the NBA. If he hits his ceiling, hits his potential, I think he'll be top 10, but I don't think he'll be top 5.
Man, I think I got to see more for him because we only got 2 summer league games, and it was complete opposites.
Yeah,
in those games. Like the first game, he looked lost. Second game, I think he had 26 points. I think he had double-digit rebounds, maybe 12. I don't know why I'm remembering 12. Handful of blocks. Showed off the range defensively in that game, but that first game, he looked completely lost. And
yeah,
I think if you give him a solid point guard to set him up, he's going to be perfectly fine. I just think if you're saying, hey, go be Kevin Durant for us, because I think some people have talked about him kind of being in that role. I think he'll struggle early on, but it's a lot of hype for the guy, man. It's a lot of hype to live up to of being a top 5 player in the next 5 years. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I think he could reach those heights if the defense stays true. Because if he can be that good defensively in the NBA, yeah, I mean, he could average 20 points in the NBA, and he doesn't have to be a top scorer to reach those heights. But if he can be like a 20-point scorer, but then be that good defensively, yeah, he could be a top 5 player in the NBA.
So number 6 is, to me, I think he's kind of underrated, and I think he's going to be the next great shooting guard of this era, and that's Anthony Edwards.
Ooh.
They have him 6. They think Wembanyama is going to be a better player than him, which I don't know, man. I really find that hard to believe because to me, Anthony Edwards is box office. I think his play speaks for itself. He's a media darling. Like, there's always a soundbite with Anthony Edwards, but just his play style to me, I was kind of having a debate this week because one of my friends is like, is Anthony Edwards, this generation's Dwayne Wade,
Mm,
and I'm like, no, but I think they're on the same tier in terms of the type of players that they are. Because I think Anthony Edwards could get you 30 points if you need 30 points. Same with Dwayne Wade.
I think he's about to take another step too this year. I would.
Yeah.
It might sound crazy, but I would probably move Anthony Edwards into. I would be okay with him if they put him in number 3 instead of Jason Tatum. I think
Okay.
Edwards is going to be that good for the Timberwolves, man. Like, forget that talk about him going to another team. I think he's on the cusp of being right there. I think he's one of these dudes that could legit be one of the faces of the NBA. He's that good of a player, and he has so much confidence in. I really think he's going to take that next step of being an elite two-way player in the NBA. Like, I'm a huge Anthony Edwards fan.
Me too. I think he's going to be one of those guys that is going to be a multi-time All-Star. He's going to be the face of the league. In my opinion, one of the faces once LeBron does retire, just because he's just a soundbite waiting to happen. Like, when you see the interviews, like, he's like that ass serious. Like, he's one of the funniest guys, in my opinion, in the NBA. Like, I would love to have an Anthony Edwards podcast because it would be wild. Number 7 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Okay.
Now, I think SGA and Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum are all kind of in a similar tier. I will argue, though, that SGA did carry his team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Last year. And I think he has another step in development. I don't think he's done developing. Now, he's a little bit older. Bleacher Report thinks he'll be a top 10 player in the next 5 seasons, and I happen to agree with them. I think he will be a top 10 player in the NBA within the next 5 years, but I kind of feel like 7's a little bit low for him.
Do you think he should be higher?
I like Victor Wembanyama, but I haven't seen enough to put him in a top 10 list.
I mean, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 31, 5, and we'll just round up to 6. So we'll say 31, 5, and 6 with 2 steals and a block. Hell of a stat line. I think he made all NBA first team this past year. I just don't see him duplicating that type of season again going into next year. I mean, where do you think he takes the next step in his game? Like, do you think he, as a scorer, as a defensive player, as a playmaker? And I don't know. I mean, I get this weird feeling that if Oklahoma City had to eventually choose between SGA and Josh Giddey, they'd probably end up choosing Josh Giddey because 6'8", he's a great playmaker, fantastic second season. And I'm not throwing shade at Shai. Like, I think he's a fantastic player. I just think 31, 5, 6, 2, and 1 is also shooting 51% from the field, 35% from 3, 91% from the line. He was not close to 90% in any of his other seasons. I think this might be his absolute. We might have just witnessed his best season ever in the NBA. I don't know how he duplicates it stats wise. I mean, I don't know what next step he could take. I don't watch him a ton, but I don't know. Like, I think he could still be a top 10 player 5 years from now, but I don't know. 7 might be. I think 7 might be kind of high.
I think he should be at least in the top 5 just from that season that he had, because I think he can duplicate it. Because the way he plays and the way he gets to his spot, it's just he does it with just like no effort. And it's no shot at him when I say that. It's just he makes it look so damn easy.
Yeah. And
the defenses can't adjust to it, and he still gets his 30. And he's still shooting damn near 50, 40, 90 for the year, like that's impressive to me. I think his 3-point shot could evolve into a 40% 3-point shooter. I think defensively, he has all the tools to become a better defender. I've always been really high on him as a player since he did get drafted. But I just have a problem with Victor Wembanyama being top 5 already. But we'll get to number 8 because this one, to me, it's in the same category as Victor Wembanyama, and that's Scoot Henderson at number 8.
Dude, they show a lot. I mean, for good reason, but I always have a complaint about super athletic small guards. They always show you something for like 3 seasons, and then it seems like their peaks are so short compared to other guys. I'm not saying all short guards. I'm just saying short, top of elite, top athletic point guards. Those short guards, they always seem like they have like a 3-4 year window in the NBA where they look godlike. And then either an injury happens or the NBA kind of catches up to them. But Scoot Henderson at number 8, that's interesting.
I just think the Scoot hype, I could understand it. Explosive, bouncy point guard. But he's rated above Devin Booker, who's at 9. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And Cade Cunningham, who's at 10, which we'll talk about after, Devin Booker. But I personally would take Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson off this list. I don't know if they're going to be top 10 NBA players. I mean, Joel Embiid's not on this list. Ja Morant's not on this list. Zion's not on this list, which I don't know what's going to happen with Zion. I don't know if he'll be a top 10 player. I think if he got out of New Orleans, he might, but that's a whole nother topic for a different day. But I just think Scoot and Wemby shouldn't be on this list because they haven't played basketball yet. Like, they haven't played real NBA minutes. They played summer league. But I want to talk about a Michigan native next in Bleacher Report's top 10 list. So they had Devin Booker number 9. I think Devin Booker will still be a top player in the NBA. I thought this past season was his best season he's had in quite a long time. And the playoffs that he had, if you go look up at his playoff numbers from this past season, they're insane, man. Like the shooting splits that he had, felt like he just had his sliders up all the way in 2K. He did not miss a shot, but they did have Devin Booker at number 9. I want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, this past playoffs, he averaged 34 a game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, while shooting 59% from the field, 51% from 3 on 6 attempts, and then 87% from the free throw line, which kind of seems down compared to the field goal and the 3-point percentage. In the regular season, I was unaware of him not being named an all-star despite averaging 28, 5, and 6 with 1 steal while shooting 49%, 35, and 86% from the line. I was surprised. And he's only 2 years older than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is ranked 2 spots ahead of him. I would actually take Devin Booker over Shai going forward, just because since his second year in the league, he's averaged 22 or more points per game. And he's been the face of a team. He's had playoff success. He's a fantastic playmaker. I think defensively, Shai might have him a little bit. I'd give Shai the edge defensively, just because I don't think Devin Booker's been on a good enough team yet. And the past 3 seasons have been a little different, where he's had to focus so much on offense. We haven't been able to see that side of the ball. But now with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and, the team they have over there, I think we'll see a different engaged Devin Booker on the defensive side. But for the next 5 seasons, I would take him over Shai. He's only 26 years old. That's absurd to me because seems like he's been playing for such a long time. And
like that's kind of alarming to me because I feel like that draft, like the Stanley Johnson draft, feels like such a long time ago.
It was 2015. That's crazy.
Yeah, Devin Booker. I feel like Devin Booker should be 30, but he's not.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But I think him at 9, like, yeah, you could swap him in SGA. I don't think I would have a problem with that. I'm just kind of wondering how he's going to benefit from all these all-stars around him. Now, he did. I feel like his game got a lot better when Chris Paul went to Phoenix. And when Monty Williams got there, I felt like he kind of learned how to play winning basketball, because he always put up numbers in Phoenix. But before, Monty and Chris Paul got there, like the Phoenix Suns weren't really winning a whole lot of games. But I think 9 is a fair ranking for him. But I want to get to Cade because I feel like that's why people are here. So Cade was ranked 10th. And I was surprised by this personally. I really was. I was really shocked to see that Bleacher Report believes that Cade Cunningham could be a top 10 NBA player. Because we've talked about it before. Like, the Pistons don't really get a whole lot of national love.
They don't.
They don't. But I told you last week, you're going to see a lot of media members start glazing Cade Cunningham. It's going to be Cade this, Cade that, Cade this. And I know I said glazing, pause. All you guys in the chat, I know you guys are immature. But I think him being in this list made me happy as a Piston fan. I don't care that he's 10th. I'm just happy that he made a top 10 list because Bleacher Report thinks he's that dude.
I mean, I'm happy, but I'm also curious why so many bloggers are walking their takes back about Cade Cunningham, because just a few months ago, there were a lot of accounts that were talking about Cade Cunningham in not the most positive light. So I'm kind of surprised. And I like to think that this is just from his Team USA select experience and how he played against Team USA. And now how he played against them even looks crazier because, they just lost and they Team USA medaled. I could be wrong, but I think they lost I think they lost their last 2 games. Again, could be wrong about that. But you're right, to see him on a list where there are other people outside of us that think he can be a top 10 player in the NBA is pretty crazy. And it just shows the level of respect he's finally getting. And I think he actually deserves it. Even though he only played 12 games last year, we knew, a lot of Pistons fans knew what we were watching in Detroit before everybody else. We were seeing the groundwork being laid for a potential, I think we had said it, a potential top 10, top 15 player in the NBA. And I don't know, I'm glad the rest of the basketball world is starting to catch up to it.